Hi, I'm Lalita from Let's Speak English, and today I have brought for you some idioms, phrases and connectors that you can use to compare and contrast ideas, places, etc. Now, a key skill you need to use in IELTS speaking is how to compare and contrast things, people, places, activities and general ideas. In IELTS speaking part 1, you may be asked directly the difference between A and B. For example, between living in the city and living in the countryside. Whereas in IELTS speaking part 3, you will need to compare and contrast more abstract ideas, opinions and examples. So in this lesson, I'll give you the language you need to do that confidently. So let's understand the definition of compare and contrast. So when we say compare, what we mean is finding the similarities between two things. And by contrast, we mean is finding the differences between two or more things or places or people or activities. So that is definition. Before I move on, do not forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, Let's Speak English. So let's compare places, people, activity and things. So some of the phrases or some of the structure that you can use to compare is A is similar to B, or you could say A is similar to B because, or A is similar to B in that. Let's look at some examples. London is similar to Paris because they are both capital cities. Another example, London is similar to Paris in that they have similar population. We can also show the level of similarities and make our answers richer by using adverbs such as really, pretty, quite, rather. For example, London is pretty similar to Paris in that they have similar population. Another way to express similarity is to mention both of them first and then give a summarizing phrase. For example, if we are comparing cars or brands, we can say the following. When it comes to cars, two of the most famous brands are the Audi and BMW. They are so alike. We can also use expressions like this. They are pretty much alike. They have a lot in common, or they are really similar. In addition, we can show likeness with this structure too. A is as dash as B. For example, an Audi is as reliable as BMW, or Paris is almost as big as London, or John is as tall as Michael. Finally, if two things or people are actually the same, we can say A is identical to B, or A is the same as B. For example, Jack is identical to his father. Both of them love football. Or Jack is as same as his father. They both love football. Or you can say Jack is a spitting image of his father. Now, we have to be careful while using this particular phrase, the spitting image, because this refers to physical appearances only. So that is how you compare. Let us look at some of the expressions to contrast now. So the structure can be something like this. A is different from B, or A is different from B because, or A is different from B in that. Let's look at some examples for these structures. Manchester is different from Paris, or Manchester is different from Paris because it's much more industrial. Or Manchester is different from Paris in that the climate is colder than Paris. So remember, we can also express the size of the differences with adverbs such as it is totally different, it is strikingly different, or distinctly different. Or if the difference is just a little slight, you can say it's slightly different, or it's rather different, or it's subtly different. Let's look at some idiomatic expressions for contrasting. You could use idioms like they are a world apart, especially when the differences are really very big. For example, Manchester United and the Real Madrid are worlds apart. Manchester United is a much better team. Or another idiom is they are poles apart. Or another way of contrasting is A is a far cry from B. For example, the museum is a far cry from what I imagined. I thought it would be rubbish, but actually it turned out to be really great. Another idiom is A is in a different league from B. For example, my maths teacher is great. He is in a different league compared to all the other teachers. So those are some of the phrases idioms you can use for contrasting. Moving on, let us look some connectors to compare and contrast ideas. So here are some connectors you can use to compare and contrast. For example, you could use connectors like similarly, likewise. For example, I love football. Similarly, I'm a big fan of basketball too. Let's see how we can use likewise. I love Chinese food. Likewise, I am really into Vietnamese food as well. Some of other connectors are on the contrary, conversely, or on the other hand. So these are some of the connectors that you can use to contrast ideas. For example, I'm really busy during the week, but on the weekends, conversely, I have a lot of free time. So I'm really busy on Mondays. Fridays, on the contrary, are much easier. So that is how we use the connectors to contrast ideas. Now, what is very important for you to remember here is that the word order is slightly different when we are writing as compared to speaking. So while writing, this is the structure we follow. Noun 1 followed by the noun 2 plus the adverb and the rest of the sentence. For example, I'm busy this week. Next week, on the other hand, I have much less work to do. So those are some of the tips and tricks for you to improve on your IELTS speaking exams. So I hope these phrases will be really helpful for you. Do not forget to hit that like and subscribe button and subscribe to my video channel, Let's Speak English.